Is this the crypto catch-up rally? Hint, yes. Everybody expects the AI bubble to burst, stocks to go down, and crypto to go with it. That's possible. Certainly possible. YouTube is filled with ideas about 45K or 50K in Bitcoin. And of course, you could see how that would happen if NASDAQ cracked. However, people have not thought about another alternative. Wells Fargo this morning said the everything rally could start this summer. Now, again, I know, cringe, but I'm going to tell you how an everything rally could start. It has to do with the Fed. It has to do with the dollar versus the yen. And get this, it has to do with tokenized stock trading on the blockchain. Crypto is not dead. Crypto is just trading crypto and stonks together. So this whole story that there isn't enough money for altcoins or Bitcoin, that's not true. They're just all chasing this other stuff. Now, of course, the value of the other stuff, and we'll go into this, how excessive it all is. Like these tech companies are still trying to get money out of the general public, right? And everybody seems to be falling for this and missing Bitcoin, missing altcoins, missing Solana and Jupiter. You're like, Solana and Jupiter, who cares about that? I will tell you why you should care about that. Because if this little like, I think I can rally that started today can continue, I'll take a stable, normal rally. If it can continue, I will tell you why it could have legs, so you don't want to go anywhere. This is the market update. I'm your host, Bill Noble. If you need a roadmap in crypto, subscribe to this channel. Turn on alerts so you know when we're going live. And as Zepetis and everybody in the chat will tell you, please hit that like button so we can help you. You help us, we help you. Now, let's start with some very important news. We now have SpaceX is going to issue bonds. They are going to borrow more money via the bond market. And you're like, well, wait a minute. Didn't SpaceX just raise $75 billion through an IPO in the stock market? Like, why are they borrowing more money in the bond market? And I'm like, that's a really good question. Why are they? Well, because there's a sucker born every minute. They are just going to be like, hey, we're going to take advantage of all this euphoria, and we're just going to keep borrowing money and raising money and borrowing money. And you know what? They're not the only ones. Look, Nvidia is borrowing $25 billion through the bond market. Right here, $25 billion in investment grade bonds right here. Now, why does Nvidia need money? I thought Nvidia was like the most profitable company in the world. The stock is actually super cheap relative to what the earnings of the company. Why are they borrowing money? Well, they're borrowing money because we're in an insane euphoria phase in equities. Also, they know that if something weird happens, the funding is going to dry up, right? So they're just like, oh, well, we got to get all the money we can now. Now, wait a minute. Does that sound like the beginning of a rally or the beginning of a move or perhaps the end of the move? And maybe it's not 1929 crash that follows, like all the media outlets say, but maybe it's just those assets don't perform on the upside and something else catches up. The crypto catch-up rally. Now, as evidence that the general public is doing the wrong trade. See, this is the classic, right? This is how you know it's either a crash, which is what the media says, which is never right. Okay, now watch this. This is inflows into semiconductor ETFs. So chip stocks, and then things that aggregate those stocks into one thing you buy and sell. So the general public, the week of June 12th, has decided that now is a great time, after years and years and years of the AI build out, to get massively invested in semiconductors. What's wrong with this picture? Nvidia and SpaceX effectively are selling stocks and bonds to anybody who will take them so they can get money. Meanwhile, the general public is FOMOing in to all things AI, not realizing that these chips and all this hardware, they have to get plugged into something, and there has to be energy to run all this stuff. They are just absolutely FOMOing into this sector, or these sectors, or equities in general. And Bitcoin is left by the side of the road. Solana is left by the side of the road. Meanwhile, activity is picking up on Solana, on Jupiter, right? Huge amount of tokenized trading in stocks and whatnot going on. So there's liquidity inside the crypto universe that could move. Now, if you look at the media, the media is like, well, this is like 1929. This is, a euphoric, crazy banana pants thing, and it's going to blow up, and it's going to be a disaster. Well, just so happens I studied the history of 1929. It's a book by John Kenneth Galbraith. I think it's called The Great Crash. It's time to get that book out. The reason 1929 occurred is because nobody thought it could ever happen. They thought it was going up forever. And there is some of that in the stock market, admittedly, that is there. But you know what? Maybe, and I'm going to tell you why this is not totally crazy. Maybe instead of 1929 on the downside, crypto and Bitcoin can turn around and wake up. There's a lot of talk that, Bitcoin has fallen to certain levels below certain charts, like a rainbow chart, just the way it did back in the FTX days. In other words, 62K Bitcoin is the same as 15K Bitcoin. From a technical analysis point of view, you got to ask yourself, hey, especially given this market is kind of perky out of nowhere, and I'm not seeing anything anywhere that would indicate it's like, oh, yeah, that's really interesting. So, but we don't know why it's happening. Now, before I get all into that, because I think you're going to like this macro angle a lot. Okay, so let's be honest. So Bitcoin is now at the green line, which is the 200-day moving average, right? The 21-day moving average. And Bitcoin has not been able to get through the 21-day moving average. And there's Lux Algo resistance. Okay, so we got the idea, right? Like NASDAQ's coming off. Bitcoin is at resistance. You can't get too excited until there's a Bitcoin breakout. So I get it. I understand. I don't want to be a lunatic, but there is something we need to talk about. And then after we talk about it, we need to go back through crypto, Bitcoin, and altcoins. Now, this is the dollar versus the yen. So you may have heard that the dollar is going up, which is one of the things that's been hurting Bitcoin the most. All these ninnies and these economists think that the Fed is going to hike rates. So the dollar has been strong. This is a 3-month chart. So every bar is 3 months. Okay. This is 1990. The dollar versus the yen has not been up here. So the dollar is rising and the yen is falling. And the Japanese have effectively spent all of their money to try and stop it, and they can't stop it. They cannot stop the dollar from rising and the yen from falling, because that's how fiat currency trading works, right? Dollar goes up, yen goes down, right? Okay. And as you can see, this could be a major problem because the next resistance level is 200, meaning $1 currently buys 160 yen. It may wind up buying 205 yen, or God forbid, 250 yen, meaning the dollar becomes so strong and the yen becomes so weak that this can have catastrophic consequences for inflation in Japan, right? It's effectively their currency collapsing. It is what the currency market is pushing, right? Because that's the way currencies work. I started in currencies in 1991, and currencies are like, you know what? We have the fundamentals on our side. We have the technicals on our side, and we're going to push it until you stop us. Now, who's the you? The you are the central banks. Central banks like, okay, fiat foreign exchange market, hedge funds. We're going to push it, push it, push it. The Bank of Japan is trying to stop it, and guess what? They can't do it. Now, if the Bank of Japan can't do it, who's going to do it? Who's going to do it? Okay. We know any big central banks out there that have influence on the dollar? I would say that's the Fed. Now, how does the Fed stop the dollar versus the yen from going up? How does the Fed stop the dollar? Well, you may guess they increase the supply of dollars. In other words, they print. They effectively open up what's called a swap line, and essentially they print money and send it to the Japanese, or they actually do the intervention in the currency market themselves, or both. So all these ninnies who first they were expecting rate cuts, now they're expecting rate hikes. They're not going to get rate hikes. The Fed's going to flood the market with money. You cannot have Japan blow up. You cannot have an inflation crisis in like the third or fourth biggest economy in the world. Look it up, right? Like US, Japan, Europe. That's called the G3. This cannot happen. So it's not a surprise that dollar yen goes through this key level at 160, which you don't need to know anything about, really. It's kind of psychological. Dollar yen goes through 160. The Bank of Japan runs out of money. And the next thing you know, Bitcoin's up 2.7% on a summer Monday. Wow. And if there could be a 1929 event, just saying, if there could be a 1929 event, it might be in oil. What happens if the orange man is over there going, hey, I cut deals and I pay the Iranians. I get more popular. Oil goes down. Let's keep doing this. It's just going to do what works. Art of the deal, even if it's a bad deal. Now, an additional reason to allocate to crypto is that the SpaceX IPO is now down 8%, taking NASDAQ down with it. So let's go over what's happening. Let's put it all together. And then we'll go to crypto charts and altcoins and DEX activity to show you that crypto is not dead. So big companies, the treasurers of big companies are calling their CEOs and going, sell these characters anything they can with our name on it. You want SpaceX stock? Great. Yours. You want SpaceX bonds? Yours. You want Nvidia bonds? Yours. Just You guys want all this stuff? You're FOMOing in? Excellent. Here's some stuff you can FOMO into. We'll take your money. Thank you very much. Just in case things all dry up. Who is the smart money there? Now, stocks could go up. Stocks could go down. Obviously, SpaceX is ridiculous. Kramer is right. It is kind of a meme stock in a way, and the general public bought it at, the general public bought SpaceX at above 180. Like they FOMO'd in at the absolute top. The absolute top. And they ran into every smart money seller you could think of. They were chasing SpaceX in the tokenized world. Like SpaceX is what woke up really tokenized stock trading to the point where DEXs like Backpack, which Toby picked, and I'll tell you who Toby is in a minute. Backpack, Solana, Jupiter, all these DEXs are kind of exploding with activity, at least relative to what it's been. So you have smart money dumping equities on the general public's head. You have the Fed printing And nobody in crypto understanding that story at all. I'm not even sure you followed what I said, but essentially the Fed has to stop a negative event in the fiat currency market that could have global implications. And the way they do it is to print. They either print and do it themselves, or they print the dollars and they give them to the Japanese because they are out of dollars to sell. They're out. That's it. They just have to just spin up the printer. So if you have the general public going, you know what, I just got smoked in Stonks and Bitcoin's going up, or I just got smoked over here, maybe I'll buy Solana, or smart money goes, hey, maybe we're going to exit these, whatever we're in, or the hedge funds who are short everything. They are short everything. These hedge funds that are short, if you get this slow motion squeeze going with the Fed printing and maybe some asset allocation moving, these hedge funds are going to get caught short. It's a little twist I forgot to mention. So this is a recipe for something happening on the upside in crypto. I mean, as long as NASDAQ doesn't like fully and completely like nuke, you can have a grinding bid in crypto. And you don't want it to go up 25% in one day. You would want crypto to move in a way where people don't believe it. Now, as I work with this guy from Stormrake, right? He's sponsoring the channel, crypto brokerage company, right? And he said, you know, bottoms are something you carve out. And are we carving out some kind of bottom based on catalysts that people don't understand? Smart money dumping on equities retail to raise as much money as they can at the top. Hedge funds all short crypto. All hedge funds are short crypto. They are giga short, most likely with loans from characters like Jamie Dimon. Okay, everybody's trying to stop the Clarity Act. Everybody is negative. You looked at YouTube headlines on Friday, everyone is negative crypto. Not only the hedge funds short, here's how negative everyone is on crypto on YouTube. After looking at the trending headlines, I had a 15-second video over the weekend called all it would take is one catalyst for Bitcoin to go to 75K. And I saw the initial views on that video were so horrendous. It was like 150 views. I'm like, this is going to drag down my whole algorithm. I got to delete this video. Delete the video. Like it happened. If it happened to me, if it happened to Billy Boltard, then what's the rest of the world thinking? They are all negative. They are all short. They are all underinvested. They are all tracing the wrong thing. And they have smart money dumping on their head in stonks. Meanwhile, with the Fed, every Wall Street economist is telling you they're going to hike rates, when if anything, they're just going to print indefinitely, because you cannot have dollar yen at 200. You absolutely cannot. Like dollar yen at 200 is the end of them. And if you know anything about the history of central banks or 2008 or quantitative easing or money printing, when the Fed goes, this cannot happen, they can stop it from happening. Like they can spin this up and they can print $1 trillion to stop dollar yen from going up. And they will if they have to. They will, because the currency market continues to push it. And everybody is like, yeah, you know, they're not taking this seriously. So we're going to have a new Fed chairman. Follow me here. We're going to have a new Fed chairman start at the office, walk in and be like, hey, Kevin, guess what? The yen and Japan just blew up on your watch, right? That's going to happen on day one, week one, month one, quarter one, right? Hi, Kevin. Yeah, here we go. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Kevin Warsh doesn't really like printing, but guess what? If Japan is on the line, he's going to print. You know, the orange man is like wiggling his way out of this Middle East mess. You cannot have a financial problem. You cannot have like a giant crisis. You cannot have Japan and something called the carry trade, or, you cannot have a problem with Japan, which has a huge connection to speculative lending, with arguably a monster AI bubble. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. All investment and all consumption is attached to that AI bubble. Could it burst? Yes. Could NASDAQ go down? Yes. SpaceX is getting nuked. Of course it can. It can. Can it take Bitcoin with it? Sure. Do you need to watch an hour live stream about that at this point? No. Because every hedge fund is short. Everyone's bearish. Everyone's out. Everyone is out. No one is invested in crypto itself. There are people on the blockchain trading tokenized stocks, right? I mean, Solana, what is the statistic about Solana? Like, Solana has like a 97% market share in tokenized stock trading. Okay. You have like $8 billion in stock trading going on Solana. And that isn't even the biggest asset class. You have tokenized treasuries, tokenized private credit, Jupiter, Backpack Securities, which was picked by Toby, right? Our YouTube analyst in the YouTube member area. We found the list. She picked Backpack months ago, April, when it was at 0. It's up 800% on back of this tokenized stock trading. And obviously there's Ondo, Hyperliquid, Radium. I mean, Jupiter handles $77 million daily on 421 stock tokens, 16,000 traders. We have 16,000 people. So it's like, oh yeah, there's no one on, there's no, crypto is dead. Really? Hedge funds are short, and you got 16,000 guys on Solana who will chase anything that's going up. Okay, well, that worked fine with SpaceX, right? They got it dumped on their head. Now, what happens if you get a Bitcoin breakout or a Solana breakout? Because Solana has been slightly more perky. I read something, I have to double check it, but I mean, I read something with Jupiter that the more trading that occurs on Jupiter, there's actually a Solana burn. Every time Radium or Jupiter burns Solana for gas and generates a Jupiter fee revenue. Volume equals direct token demand. The catch-up trade, right? TradFi volume floods on chain, Solana, Jupiter, Chainlink, and other DEX tokens. People could come in and want to get long, although I can't see the rationale for that based on what I just showed you about semiconductors and the general public just absolutely indiscriminately FOMOing in. I mean, that is 1929-ish. Just the stupidity of it all. But again, is that money going to go somewhere? There's capital on chain, on Jupiter, right? I mean, it's not like you got to go and open a Schwab account. If you're going to open an account, open a Stormrake account so you can get involved in all this with it as a one-stop shop. Because you know what? The centralized exchanges have dropped the ball on these tokenized equities, which you could probably get long or short, undoubtedly with leverage. So everybody has done the wrong trade. Everybody has done the wrong trade. The Bank of Japan has done the wrong trade. They can't control their currency. Stock traders have bought stocks at the high from the companies themselves, who will dump anything they can to get as much money as they can. And of course, while we're having both a monetary crisis and like a bubble, where it's not a bubble in valuations, although it sort of is, but it's just a bubble in sentiment. Like, people are chasing the wrong stuff. They're doing like last year's trade in huge volume. Meanwhile, as a monetary crisis bubbles in Japan, no one is interested in the monetary solution called Bitcoin. Nobody. Anybody hear this story about Anthropic's latest model, rattling Uncle Sugar's computer systems, the national security level? Anybody catch that story? Yeah. So what can Anthropic's latest monster not do? It can't create more Bitcoin. It can't. Bitcoin has a fixed supply. It cannot create another Bitcoin network. There's only one Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the only thing that's scarce in a universe where everything can be replicated, cracked, broken into, copied, whatever. Do you think this is like Skynet phenomenon where, every month they're releasing something that has to be checked with Uncle Sugar before anybody else can access it? I mean, like, the monster is out there, yet no one realizes that the monster will eventually come and use crypto. So it's amazing. Like, it took the crypto market 48 hours to digest that Skynet is really out there. And the only mechanism for Skynet to participate in capital markets is crypto, because they can just open a wallet and go. And if they can crack security systems, what do you think they're going to do? Like, flip it on the positive side. Like, I don't know if they want to go crack into something, or they could do that, I guess. But what are they going to build? Are they going to build a DeFi protocol? Is an AI agent going to actually release a meme coin and the associated Twitter by itself? Not Fartcoin, where some guy says it's AI because the AI does the tweeting. What happens if an agent actually goes out there and does something? Because we would hope it was the John M. McAfee agent that does something like that. Privacy has done nothing. Where's Monero? Like, look at this. Like, Uncle Sugar's system is not safe, and there's the best privacy coin in the world at 335. The high at the beginning of the year was 760. No interest in any of this, none. Meanwhile, let's look at what the general public just, they just, it's called walking into Wall Street. There we go. SpaceX 15-minute chart. Congratulations, everybody. You just bought the wrong stuff. You just bought the wrong stuff. I mean, there's nothing wrong with SpaceX, nothing wrong with Elon, there's nothing wrong with Tesla and robots, but what price did you pay? What price did they pay? And what price can you pay in crypto? It's just like rattle stuff off. Like, Bitcoin, 64K, Stellar at 20 cents. This is like who DTC, the clearing agency, is going to use to move tokenized stocks. And that's been announced. Solana at 73. So Solana's awake and Solana's at 73. Now, of course, that's a dramatic improvement from where it was at 68. But, you can still see, I'm not going to lie. You can still see bag holders selling every uptick in Solana. I'm just going to be objective. Use a chart. Tell you the story. See these wicks? They're selling every rally in Solana. Every rally to 75 is getting sold. Every single one. Now, interestingly, Solana is still sitting on its 21-day moving average. I find that fascinating. That you got all this activity on Solana. You could have more if the stocks go down and crypto goes up. Yet they continue to sell. So what happens? What happens if it holds the 21-day moving average? So if it doesn't hold, where's Solana going to go? Well, I don't know. Probably back to 68, or the worst case is 62. Like, what's your downside risk? I don't know. 10%. Okay. If Solana wakes up and they start doing stable coins, or people actually start trading both crypto and equities, because I don't know, one of them's going down, the other one's going up, or crypto starts moving at all. I don't know. Solana was at 99 in May. So, what is that? Is that like 30% upside? You got 10% downside and 30% upside in Solana. That's it. You don't need to be a professional technical analyst to know these things. And one of our guys, it could be Big Daddy Crypto, maybe. One of our super loyal guys, I think, is in Arrow. Like, this is pretty perky. This is the DEX on base. Now, I don't know where they are in terms of tokenized stock trading, but this is clearly going up when everything else is not. This is, and I don't know what Jupiter is doing. Let's just look. Luxalgo's got support underneath the Jupiter move. Oh, yeah. And there's one other thing about Luxalgo. By the way, I'm going to be rolling out some new chart stuff too. Some new chart stuff is coming. The puking that has occurred in Bitcoin is unbelievable. Look at this. Look at people just absolutely throwing in the towel on Bitcoin. Absolutely, totally quitting. This red on red here, trying to get it so TikTok can see it. Like, this is more material puking than you had in February. So let's just go through this. Let's just review. The geopolitical conflict is over because the orange man is just having so much fun writing checks to his enemy to make himself more popular. He's like falling over himself. Note, oil market could react to this. All hedge funds are short Bitcoin. They're short crypto out the wazoo. Everybody has dumped Bitcoin, including the ETF and spot, just dumped it. Like, get me out of this. Just get me out. It's going to 45K. I need out. There's a lot of activity on blockchain and DEXs in Stonks, which could easily turn around. Like, maybe this altcoin thing is like, altcoins go up one day and then they dump. Okay, maybe. But SpaceX's stock is getting hammered. We'll see if they buy the dip. It's not a bull market unless you can buy a dip and make money. So if SpaceX is down 10%, great. See if they come in and buy the dip. If they buy the dip, okay. So I bloviated for 45 minutes and it didn't work out. But if some of that capital moves, that could come to crypto. And there is this monetary catalyst where I'm telling you the Fed is going to have to print. The Fed cannot let dollar yen get out of control. It's that simple. The supply of dollars is going to increase. So this argument that there's not enough money, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. I mean, the Fed is going to have to actually print and send that money directly to the Bank of Japan. They are out of money. They lose face on this, you're going to have a real problem. And of course, no one's talking about this because it takes a while to talk. It takes a while to get it. Just like with SpaceX and Nvidia, people are going to be like, wait a minute. Why are these guys borrowing more money? I mean, you know why they're borrowing more money, because they're going to spend an infinite amount of money to try to win this race. And not everyone's going to win. And that's not the focus of today, right? They're going to spend all this capital, and not all that capital is going to be productive, and not all that capital is coming back to whoever gave it to them. That's the argument that the bubble is out of control. Really. They're going to spend all this money and not everyone's going to win. Right? I mean, Meta is a mess. Like the Eagle King sent something this morning that Meta is underperforming the S&P by 32%. Like Meta is not winning. I mean, that's why, and it's not a surprise because they were writing $100 million checks per person to take people from OpenAI. They're behind the curve and they're losing. They're underperforming the rest of the tech stock, this tech sector, by 32%. They're losing. They're losing. In other words, one thing you got in AI, everyone's like, oh, everyone's a winner. Everything's, oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, everybody in chips is a winner, right? They're buying chips. You can't fight the tidal wave of money. I'm not saying get out of chips. I'm saying everybody's not going to win. And in crypto, no one is winning. Nothing. Zero. Bupkis, zero. Nothing. Dead. Maybe it is dead. But it's not dead if this tokenized stock trading continues to pick up. Like, I actually think tokenized equities going down might create even more volume, right? People might puke out of stuff. They might get short. I mean, people are on chain. People are on chain. Hedge funds are short, and the Fed is printing. That's what's happening that people can't see. They can see the market up, and they're selling, because every time the market goes up, you should sell because it's a bear market, right? That's what's been happening. Every time you get excited about an altcoin rally, it goes down. I understand that. I understand that you're over it. You're not happy. You're worried. You're depressed. Toby looked at me and goes, you know what? I'm sick of your negativity about this market. I'm sick of listening to you go, woe is me. This thing stinks. And I'm like, this is why the YouTube member area is a great place to be. You want to be in the YouTube member area when it's in the abyss, and Toby is picking things like Backpack back in like April, right? Or WorldCoin, or any of these small coins. Like, there are small coins that are mooning, and a lot of them are in this DEX space. This is what she does. And she's like, look, man, I need to show you this. Like, we talked about Near, and Near went up. We talked about Backpack, and Backpack went up. We were on these things before they moved in some cases. Like, the big coins obviously didn't do well, but, Railgun did. We had customers make money in Railgun. So, yeah, Hyperliquid and Canton were two plays, that pretty much everybody had. But she's like, dude, there is stuff going up. Stop telling me that all altcoins are getting smashed. Now, the altcoins that people own, or the large cap altcoins, are getting smashed, all true. But don't say everything is getting smashed. Everything is not. There is stuff that's moving. And then I'm like, oh my God, wait a minute. It's this tokenized equity DEX universe that is absolutely freaking smoking. And even if they're on these DEXs buying the wrong stuff, well, they're not going to take the money off chain. Like, if you lose money on a crypto trade, do you pull everything off Coinbase or everything off Phantom? Do you just like, do you just like unload everything, or do you try to go to the next trade? Do you try to go to the next trade? Right? What's the next trade? SpaceX bonds? Really? You think so? All right. Well, if you think it's SpaceX bonds, then you should go there. I don't think anyone's going to go for this. I don't think so. Like, why would they? I mean, especially since, there is this 1929 thing in stocks, right? Does 2026 look like 1929? Transformative technology, retail piling in, regulators tearing down the guardrails because it's easier to day trade now. You don't need a $25,000 minimum in your account. You can just have at it, right? In 1929, the technology was electricity. In 2026, it's AI. The people who lost everything were not stupid. They were just unprepared. Some guy out of a job in 1929. One of the things that made that so bad was that people made mutual funds And then they made mutual funds of mutual funds, and then the banks started buying them. The banks were the ones who were like loaded up on all these stocks, and when the stocks went down, the banks vaporized. That's what happened in 29. Now, I don't see that repeating itself. Okay, but banks are sitting on substantial unrealized losses. Right. Unrealized losses got a little bit bigger last month, probably because the bond market was doing terrible. So even though everybody's making money in semiconductors, not everyone in the financial universe is making money. Bondholders are getting smoked. The Bank of Japan is getting smoked. And hedge funds are all short crypto. It's as simple as that. I mean, this could be a 20-second video. Everybody is short crypto. They're going to sell more against the 21-day moving average in Bitcoin. I have no doubt about that. You have to take that into account. Traders have to look at risk reward, but it's analysts' jobs to say, wait a minute, if NASDAQ goes down but doesn't go to zero, does money move to crypto? Even if NASDAQ goes down hard, does Bitcoin come back first? Because wait a minute, if the Fed is already printing to save the yen, would they print to save the stock market? Keeping in mind that the head of Anthropic and OpenAI were at the G7 meeting. You think Wall Street and Uncle Sugar aren't kind of sort of in bed together on getting those IPOs done? Would they try to hold up the stock market? I don't know. Right? It'd be pretty embarrassing if all of a sudden that vaporized. Kevin Warsh is not in favor of printing until you have the Orange Man on line 1, the Bank of Japan on line 2, Sam Altman on line 3, and Anthropic on line 4. I don't really like printing, but, I got 4 phone calls waiting for me. So we can focus on trading risk reward. We can sell every rally. We can do that. We can look at the dollar. Okay. We can look at the absurdity of NASDAQ and the fact that SpaceX IPO could certainly crater that whole thing. Certainly crater that whole thing. That can obviously affect Bitcoin, clearly. It's just like we're just taking the other side, right? The general public could just start panicking and liquidating everything it bought at the top. You could have, headed into the U.S. July 4th weekend, you could have a panic. That could happen. Big holidays, man. Market loves to do a little surprise. It was Father's Day over the weekend, by the way. Happy Father's Day to all the gentlemen out there. Father's Day over the weekend. Oh, look, little surprise pop in Bitcoin, even with NASDAQ down. Don't think it's not going to take CoinDesk long to see if Bitcoin actually winds up holding with NASDAQ getting monkey hammered today because of SpaceX. I'm interested in that. I'm interested. I think you should be interested too, because if it doesn't, if Bitcoin just turns around and gets hammered, fine. But if it doesn't, this stream becomes like an analytical platform to start tracking dollar yen, to start tracking the Fed, because nobody has figured that out yet. Nobody. And if they have to print to keep stonks from going down, that actually might enhance the story. Because whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong about what it could mean for Bitcoin, the fact of the matter is dollar yen is now above where it's supposed to be psychologically, and the Bank of Japan is out of money. That is not, it doesn't matter what happens directionally. That has not changed. Not changed. Okay. Somebody's telling me I'm saying something stupid here. Let's definitely get to that comment. Bull Runner. God bless these guys who are first on the stream. Zapatis, welcome. Thomas Chai, let's go. Gary, a member, welcome. Aloha. MJ Hits, Wing Raven. Monday market update. Let's go Spartans. Thanking everybody who's watching us in Patreon, where we did talk about, excuse me, where we did talk about the stocks that mutual funds may have to sell to make room for SpaceX. So interesting that they're dumping Bitcoin when they should be dumping the Magnificent Seven. Right? Union Crypto, what's up? AZK Freeman. Right? A1 Rising. Quantum Bitcoin. Does no dot plot equal watch this rate cut mofos? Dude, this is the thing. They dumped the forward guidance. They don't want to talk about inflation. They don't want to talk about it. We're not doing forward guidance because we have to print to save the Japanese. We don't want to talk about it. People have not put this together. Yes, and he does want to cut rates. I don't think he wants to print. He doesn't want to print. He doesn't want to do QE, but he's not going to leave the Japanese hanging. Okay. White Rabbit says 38K is the bottom and everybody with a brain knows it. That's what Crypto Princess has. You know, first they had 51 and then YouTube went from 51 to 45 because that's where the ETF rally started from. And now they're moving down to 35 or 38. Like, you know, each week the downside target gets lower. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. Benjamin Cohen, these 4-year cycle guys, they've been right. Sell this thing at the 21-day moving average. It's a one chart market update. That's it. Don't need the 1 hour stream. It's a 20-second video. Sell it at the 21-day moving average until it doesn't work anymore. Until it doesn't work anymore. Until the Fed has to print to save dollar yen, and we'll see. We'll see. Odd Dark, a member. Spartans, let's go. Okay. A1 Rising says, you know, the president handing out money to the enemy doesn't make him more popular. Okay. Yeah, that's true. But I'm just making fun of the process where, you know, oil is falling. Like if he behaves in a certain way or does a deal in a certain way and oil falls, it seems like he's just continuing to go in that direction. Like oil goes down. Oh my God, we have a ceasefire. Oh, we have a bigger ceasefire. Oh, the enemy says progress is being made. I'm like, oh, checks are being written. Oil is falling. I mean, the whole reason everybody thinks they're going to be rate hikes is because oil's going to 200 or oil's going to 120. Oil's down 3% today. I mean, I get it. It doesn't make it more popular. But they watch capital markets, and he knows that if gas goes back to $2 or 2 something or 3 something, depending on where you live for July 4th, it's funny how people might forgive and forget, or so you would think in the mind of a politician. Just saying. I mean, there has to be something more to talk about than just sell it at the 21-day moving average with some of these headlines, right? SpaceX rolling over, right? On-chain stock trading, you know, Fed printing to save the yen. Or you can sell against the 21-day moving average and join every hedge fund out there. You can trade with everybody else. YouTube, hedge funds, it's a choice. If they wind up being right, God bless them. God bless them. Right? A1 Rising, I love you, buddy. I know. You are right. You are absolutely right about how these geopolitical actors are thinking, both with the crisis and the next crisis, which is the yen. Love you guys. Love every single one of you guys for supporting the channel. Don't forget to open an account at Stormrake. Doesn't take any money to open an account, right? A1 Rising says, yeah, gas has got to go down, and it will, right? Like oil now matters in the other direction. When it was 60, smart money was saying it was going to 120. When it was 120, smart money turned around and said it might go to 60. That could be a very big development for Bitcoin. And who knows, maybe they're smelling it this morning. So as NASDAQ, here's the bottom line. As NASDAQ rolls over, right? And as oil goes down, or as NASDAQ has problems, As NASDAQ has problems, if Bitcoin doesn't fall out of bed or Bitcoin holds a bid while NASDAQ is doing its thing, It may not be noticeable today because they're shorting it at the 21-day moving average, but it may be noticeable if Bitcoin starts to get attention for holding up versus NASDAQ, because just keep in mind, this unbelievable outperformance. Like if you want to get extreme, this is semiconductors, obviously a key component of the AI trade. This is Bitcoin, an obvious component of the AI trade. Bitcoin, down, 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 down. Semiconductors gradually up, followed by parabolic, with Bitcoin crashing and everybody saying it's going to zero. I see this as kind of like rectifying itself, right? Bitcoin is the blue line. Semiconductors is the bar chart. One part of the AI trade going straight down, another part of the AI trade going straight up. Doesn't it have to be rectified at some point? And can it be rectified with Bitcoin upside? I should have said that at the beginning. I'm gonna leave it right there. If the AI bubble, the way that gets sorted out is that this huge component of the AI future, crypto, winds up catching up, and Toby is right. It's not all down in the mouth, right? And A1 Rising is saying they got the midterm elections coming up. They need oil down, and they cannot have a financial crisis in Japan. They cannot. Not with the mid. I forgot about that. Thank you for bringing that up. I forgot about that. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your food for thought today. It's Bitcoin at the 21-day moving average, simple, versus some realities that could result in printing, asset allocation, and a reminder that there is activity on chain. It's just not in cryptocurrency. It's in digital versions of crazy FOMO stuff. And what happens if that changes? We'll see you tomorrow.